Going into the 2012 draft, it was a battle as to who would go first. Between the likes of Andrew Luck and RG3, there was a dark horse who had the potential to go number 1, that being Alabama running back Trent Richardson. Richardson was one of the most dominant running backs coming out of college. Sadly, for a plethora of reasons, Richardson would not work out in the NFL. Today's video, we will break down and discuss what exactly happened to the career of Trent Richardson. And like I've done in my past few videos that are like this, the How Good and How Bad series, we're also going to give him a grade as to how his game was when it's all said and done at the end of the video, so be sure to stick around for that. This is Triple DS, thank you guys for tuning in, be sure to like and subscribe, and with that out of the way, let's go ahead and begin at the beginning. Born in Pensacola, Florida, also where my tribal chief was born, Trent wasn't the tallest running back by any means, but he for sure was huge. Pause. In his senior year in high school, Richardson would rush for over 2,100 yards on 228 carries, scoring 25 touchdowns. Per Rivals.com, Richardson would be awarded a 5-star rating and would be the second best running back coming out of high school. Richardson would then commit to Alabama in 2008. Richardson would make an instant impact for the Crimson Tide, and alongside running mate Mark Ingram, they would make huge contributions to Alabama winning the BCS championship that year. Fast forward to 2011, Alabama would win the BCS championship again, making Trent a 2-time NCAA champion. 2011 specifically, Richardson would amass an uncanny 21 rushing touchdowns, which was a running back record at the time. Richardson would then declare for the draft and was regarded as one of the top prospects in 2012. After Luck and RG3 came off the board, Richardson was the first non-quarterback taken in this draft by the Cleveland Browns with the 3rd overall pick. The Browns, who were in the midst of, well, 2 decades of atrocity, were hoping Richardson could be the spark that could finally bring them back to relevancy. And to this Bengals surprise, if you want to call it that did not work out. After a minor procedure during the offseason for his knee, which would cause him to miss the entire preseason, Richardson's first game left something to be desired. Against the Eagles, he would rush 19 times for a measly 39 yards. Was this a sign of things to come? Or just a shake off the rust kind of game? Trent would bounce back in a promising showing against the Bengals, rushing for over 100 yards and a touchdown as both a runner and a pass catcher. Yes, he did that against the Bengals, so before Browns fans rejoice at that fact, just know one thing: that was one of the only highlights of this guy's career. Actually, I don't know if that makes me feel better. Richardson would finish his rookie campaign with 950 rush yards, and would actually run for a total of 11 touchdowns, which would actually leave him in the record books as the rookie with the most rushing touchdowns in a single season. Also, being a solid pass catcher out of the backfield, Richardson would catch 51 passes for another 367 pass yards to go along with another pass touchdown. By the end of his rookie campaign, he was even ranked the 71st best player among the NFL top 100. There was just one glaring problem with all of this. To get to 950 rush yards, Richardson needed to carry the ball a staggering 267 times. That's the equivalent of 3.6 yards per attempt. While that's not great and it's something that you can definitely improve on, a little spoiler alert, this 3.6 yards per carry would be the highest he'd ever get in his career for a season. In 2012, his rookie year, the average yards per attempt was actually 4.3 yards per carry. Had Richardson been just average in this regard, he would have amassed nearly 1,150 rush yards. While the average fan may not think this is such a big deal, like, it's not that big of a deal, the Browns during this time had one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. So much so that per Pro Football Focus, the Browns were ranked the 5th best offensive line, led by the great Joe Thomas at left tackle. But still, he was just a rookie and could turn it around. But after 2 subpar games in 2013, the Browns would go on to actually trade Richardson away, ending his time with the Browns after just playing 17 games in total. The Browns maintain that they traded Richardson because the Colts made them an offer they could not refuse. After seeing some of these highlights though, you can make an argument that it well, while I get that that was an offer they couldn't refuse, if you believe in the guy, there's nothing that would really entice you to trade him away, if that makes any sense. But from the Browns, we go to the Indianapolis Colts. And once Richardson arrived, he was actually named the day one starter. Unfortunately for him, that did not last very long. Richardson would struggle to find any lanes while he was playing for Donald Brown. Although Richardson would get the starting nod again, only because Donald Brown got injured, he didn't do much of anything with it. Not even the playoffs could help him at this point. And let's talk about these playoffs actually. In Richardson's first and only playoff game, he ran the ball for a total of 4 times. In those 4 attempts, he totaled a single rushing yard, and he also fumbled. Trent had regressed in every single category from his already relatively subpar rookie season. One of the most staggering regressions came from his yards per carry, a statistic that was already questionable coming out of his rookie season. While he averaged 3.6 yards per carry, Richardson would drop to a woeful 3 yards per carry this season. And to be more specific, with his time in Indy, it was actually 2.9 yards per carry, just saying. Trent would get one final opportunity with the Colts in 2014, and I'm sure you can guess by the title of this video, by the thumbnail, and by the way I'm talking about this guy, that this was not going to end well. Richardson would end up splitting carries with Ahmad Bradshaw, but when Bradshaw went down in week 11, it was Trent's time to prove the doubters wrong. He would be benched by week 13 and replaced with the all-memorable Dan Herron. Richardson would subsequently be a healthy scratch down the stretch during the Colts' relatively deep playoff run. Being inactive for Indy's first 2 playoff games, Richardson would actually be suspended for the AFC Championship game due to him not alerting the team of a family emergency when he missed a walkthrough. The Colts would ultimately lose the AFC title game, and Richardson would be waived by the team during the offseason. He would finish the season with well below average stats again and was looking for an opportunity with another team. Over the next 2 years, Richardson would get opportunities with both the Raiders and Ravens respectively, but could not make the final roster for either team. Having no further opportunities in the NFL, Richardson would test his luck in the CFL in 2017. He played okay during his time, but would sustain a few injuries along the way. Just when the former number 3 overall pick was finally finding some consistency with his professional career, an off-the-field controversy which involved him potentially losing custody of his children if he crossed the border into Canada would cause him to leave the CFL after 1 season. In 2018, Richardson would have a stint with the Birmingham Iron of the AAF. After the league folded, Richardson would make a final run at professional football, joining the FAM, that being the Mexican Football League. After playing in the FAM, Richardson would call it quits from playing professional football. So now we kind of circle back to the original question, how bad was his career? Like, what went wrong for this guy to be so done in the NFL so quickly after being the 3rd overall pick? Trent Richardson, once a promising NFL running back, just flat out failed to live up to expectations due to a combination of factors, in my opinion. While he showed initial potential very, very early on, Richardson struggled with consistency, injuries, and adapting to the speed and complexity of the NFL game. His running style, which relied heavily on power and physicality, just didn't translate well to the faster and more complex defenses of the NFL. And not only that, these are now grown men that you're running at, so just, it's not the same thing. It's really not. Hesitating or choosing the wrong running lane was what really put the dagger in Trent's career and professionalism. More specifically, his commitment to remain in top shape for the NFL climate. Ultimately, I believe these are the issues that led to his decline and inability to maintain a successful career in the NFL. Trent Richardson, as of 2024, is now a running back coach at a high school in Birmingham, Alabama. Don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. As much as I want to give the Cleveland Browns a hard time, I do want these guys to do well at the end of the day. But if I had to give a grade to Trent's career, where an A+ is a first ballot Hall of Famer and an F is a bust or a flameout, Trent, for me, gets an F+. plus. Now you might be wondering, where the hell does this plus come in? Let me just tell you guys real quick. You know, the reason it's not just a flat out F or even an F minus is I like to save those for #1 overall picks. Yes, this guy was a bust and he was out of the league after 3 years, but he wasn't a #1 overall pick. And for me, I like to save that for those specific moments. On rare occasions, maybe there'll be a 2nd overall pick. The only way this guy would have gotten an F minus for my list is if he would have flamed out after 1 year or something like that, something crazy like that. Still, at the end of the day, Richardson was nowhere near the expectations that he had when he came out of college in 2012. But still, at the end of the day, an F plus, it's really not that much better, y'all. But that's the video, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you guys think. What would you guys rank Richardson's career if an A plus meant Hall of Fame and F meant bust or flame out? Be sure to thumbs up this video and give me a subscribe if you haven't done so already. But with that being said, until next time, it's been Ship Boy.